All right. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining today's webinar presentation, What Sets a Top API Testing Solution Apart? A lively breakdown with a GigaOm research analyst. We have a great panel discussion planned for everyone where we're going to start by discussing the recent GigaOm Radar report on API functional automated testing and its analysis of 14 different testing solutions and vendors in today's market. Over the next 45 minutes, we'll discuss what features and criteria to look out for when selecting an API testing solution and the future of API testing, especially in today's age of AI. Now, we will do a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, so please be sure to pop any questions that you might have into the Bright Talk webinar Q&A box, and we'll try to address those at the end of the session. Without further ado, let's dive into a quick introduction for our panelists. So first off, we are very thrilled today to welcome Daryl Kent. He is the field CTO and analyst for GigaOm. With over 50 years of experience in information technology, Daryl is a recognized leader, author, and speaker known for translating complex research into actionable insights that drive real-world business outcomes. Since 1986, he's been advising enterprises worldwide, bringing strategy and execution through technical innovation to enable these business transformations. And we're very excited to have him again today to share his expertise. So Daryl, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on, Jamie.
Perfect. I'm also very excited to welcome Aaron Lindsay. He is a senior solution engineer here at Parasoft, and he brings great, deep expertise in software testing and automation. Aaron has helped many enterprise-scale companies modernize their testing strategies, overcome automation roadblocks, and accelerate their DevOps transformations. He's also a seasoned speaker at industry events such as STARS conferences and API World. And he brings just a wealth of knowledge on how to enable on-demand test environments and increasing velocity when it comes to the SDLC. So personally, having worked with Aaron for many years now here at Parasoft, I'm very excited to hear his insights today, especially as we start to dive a little bit further into like the AI topic. Finally, my name is Jamie Motherall. I'm an API and functional testing subject matter expert and product marketing manager here at Parasoft. And for today, I'll be our moderator. All right. So let's dive in. We're going to start off with a quick introduction into the Radar report. So Daryl, do you want to kick it off for us? Maybe go into what is the Radar report? How is the analysis done? And how should software leaders and testing teams really leverage this report to help them in the decision-making process?
Happy to do that. So let's get started. But before we get into the Radar and Parasoft's placement, let's, if you don't mind, I'd like to quickly set the stage just a little bit. Mm-hmm. API functional automated testing. I keep wanting to say functional accounting. So start over. API functional automated testing is not just a technical solution, although there's a lot of technology in it. It's a business imperative in our view. It's a business enabler, a productivity enhancer, and a brand protector. Why? Because APIs power mission critical applications. If the API fails, the services fail. Businesses experience downtime, security breaches, and lost revenue. Mm-hmm. Despite this, many organizations still struggle to implement robust API testing at scale, but the urgency has never been higher. Cyber threats are evolving, APIs are a key attack vector, and CI/CD's pipelines are accelerating, along with regulatory demands, which are tightening. So with that in mind, let's talk about how we analyze this space at GigaOm. The GigaOm Radar is designed to help IT leaders cut through the noise and make informed decisions to match their business and operational needs and priorities within the sector of interest. In this case, API, functional automated testing. The Radar is a research-driven, practitioner-focused evaluation of leading solutions. We assess vendors across criteria that span technical, operational, and business factors. And in this instance, there were 32 such criteria. We categorize vendors into the 4 quadrants you see here and the 3 circles, positioning them based on capability, innovation, and strategic direction. So if briefly looking at the hemispheres, east-west, we have feature play and platform play. Look at it this way. Feature play providers are addressing roughly 20th percentile of the market and the market's needs, while platform play are broader and they're addressing roughly 80th percentile. As far as maturity goes, a maturity-placed supplier or provider is going to be, there's going to be less disruption in its implementation and integration over the course of the contract. Whereas innovators are more prone to innovate, and it could cause disruption in the integration and operations. So companies that are looking for innovators need to assess whether or not they're positioned well to accept that innovation and implement it. And they will want to do that in this space. But that's the big difference between the two. So there's a little bit of risk and disruption with an innovator, but it's good risk and good disruption provided the companies can accommodate it. So our goal is to align decision makers with the right solution for their needs. It's as simple as that. This year, we evaluated 14 top providers in this space, and each of those companies meet our baseline table stakes, but they differ in execution, vision, and feature maturity. So let's take a look where Parasoft fits in. Parasoft has made a significant move this year. They've moved from the feature play last year into the platform play, which mirrors, frankly, the broader market shift. This is a maturing technology, and the market shift has been toward platform, and Parasoft has made that shift. Parasoft is in the platform innovator quadrant, meaning they have broad enterprise scale capabilities, that's the platform play, and strong innovation trajectory, that's the innovator play. They're also a leader or the leader in every major category we assessed, from technical features to business value. In our view, Parasoft stands out in 3 primary areas, and these are all key areas. AI-powered automation, automated test generation, self-healing, impact analysis. All these reduce test maintenance and they improve coverage. Second, comprehensive security and compliance testing. It's built in and ensures organizations meet strict regulatory requirements. And then finally, enterprise-grade scalability and service virtualization. What this provides is it lets teams test APIs without needing live back-end systems, which reduces bottlenecks and increases test stability. So this means Parasoft is well positioned for organizations that need a scalable, security-focused, and automation-driven approach to API testing. So to wrap up, based on our research, Parasoft can be viewed as one of the most fully realized API testing solutions in the market today. They're a consistent leader in innovation and execution. They're designed for enterprise scale, automation, and compliance. And they're a trusted solution for organizations prioritizing security, efficiency, and business impact. And so with that, Jamie, I'm happy to take any questions.
All right. Well, we do have some questions we want to go over. First off, thank you for giving that breakdown. I thought it was very interesting, especially where you were talking about kind of the difference between the market play and the platform play and how that industry is really changing there. So I want to go into a little bit more about where the industry is going. As a part of this trends report or this report for the radar and breaking down these different vendors, a big part is where is API testing going? So could you maybe share for us what are the major trends that are shaping API testing landscape today? How have they really evolved in recent years in your perspective? Because this had a big part as far as selecting, what those capabilities are, those features are that you think are important as far as for a platform, correct?
That's correct. And I think we can talk about probably four that jump out from our analyst perspective and from GigaOm perspective. We've already talked about one, shift toward platform play over point solutions. The second one is AI-driven test automation, which is now a baseline, whereas it was good to have before. It's now a baseline. Security testing is the third, must be embedded in functional testing. Now there's arguments for and against that. Happy to go into those. And then fourth, testing must cover the entire API lifecycle, shift left, shift right, the entire cycle. So let me get into those very, very quickly. The market's moving away from specialized standalone testing tools. And they want comprehensive platforms that integrate function, performance, and security in a single workflow. This trend benefits enterprises by reducing tool sprawl, clearly, simplifying integration, and enabling cross-functional test automation, which is critical when you're trying to serve a customer. AI-driven test automation is being widely adopted now. You can't talk about anything in technology in 2025 without talking about AI and security. AI is used to automate test creation. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I think. Maintenance, self-healing, and impact analysis. And organizations now are demanding these tools to reduce manual effort, increase coverage, improve testability. Security, there's a growing compliance requirements, as we're all aware of, and they're driving the need for API security validation as part of automation testing. So leading vendors like yourselves provide built-in security assessments, scanning, and automation. And then finally, test must cover the entire life cycle. Shift left, earlier testing and development reduces defects and accelerates releases. And shift right, continuous monitoring and anomaly detection in production prevent failures and improve reliability. So those are the four that I would suggest are the key trends.
Okay. So, Aaron, I'd like you to take a moment maybe to respond. You've got all this wealth of knowledge as far as working with our enterprise customers. Do you want to add a little bit of your color from your experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to try to build on or add to what you said, Daryl. I actually agree with all four of those. Really what I'm seeing and from what our approach is at Parasoft is we've been baking in AI since our inception. Our founder and his partners created some of the first static analysis rules, flow-based analysis. So that starts the AI term to throw out there is solving for the infinity path problem or the A-star problem, if we want to get nerdy there. But really where we're focusing on is scanning for early defects and identifying problematic code patterns. So even before we start testing the APIs, where developers are able to deliver quality code to downstream teams, and then we really crank it into gear to create and maintain tests using machine learning and AI best practices. And finally, let me back up there just a second. That allows not lower technical people or non-technical people to actually get into API testing by performing their manual test cases, capturing that information, and either recreating like a Selenium test or a business logic API test, which then could be extended to other technologies and messages and protocols that they need to test as well. And finally, just like you said, we can attach pen testing tools to these API tests to do security testing at other stages or earlier stages in the pipeline. What I didn't hear you mention, but is a disruptor that I'm seeing, is integration with Gen AI. And this is really going to change everything that we do, I think. And we are already integrating it into our products to first feed it our documentation, so a tester or developer can ask it questions on how to use the tool properly, or in some cases just fix test cases that they've broken or don't know how to create on their own very quickly. Always verify, trust but verify. But really, really cool technologies are coming out.
All right. Well, I want to dive further into the different trends. So we'll start breaking those down into more detail here shortly. But before we dive into that, Daryl, maybe you could tell us a little bit about, when it comes down to the differentiators that set apart the leading API functional testing solution, what would those be in your opinion? And also, if for people that are looking to download the GigaOm Rado report, what are the key takeaways that they should look for from that report?
Sure, happy to do that, and thank you, Aaron, for bringing up Gen AI. It's good. I mean, the value of having these live and current discussions like this is things like Gen AI. Our report was written last summer, and Gen AI has made leaps and bounds since that time. So I would agree that that's one of the trends that are important as well. You can't talk about AI without talking about Gen AI these days.
Absolutely.
So one of the key things that you saw on the radar itself was we had these circles called challengers and leaders and entrants. There are differences in how providers are placed, and they're placed based on ratings and rankings. But to call out 4 primary ones, the first one is comprehensive test coverage. The leader vendors will support functional security, performance, and compliant testing within a unified platform, which I already called out earlier as one of the trends. The challengers will often lack that comprehensive security and performance capabilities, and they'll typically focus on specific niches. The second one would be scalability and enterprise readiness. This is now a mature and a maturing market space. It is ready for prime time production grade. And in order to be prime time production grade, you have to have scalability and enterprise readiness. And the leaders provide that highly scalable solution that can handle complex API environments, large scale automation, and enterprise compliance. Whereas the market challengers struggle with scalability, versioning, or even CI/CD native testing. Third one would be ecosystems, the integration and CI/CD support, continuous improvement, continuous development support. The market leaders seamlessly integrate with DevOps workflows. They're supporting popular pipelines and test orchestration and service virtualization, as you might imagine. The less mature solutions require custom integrations or manual interventions. So a little bit more work, and the end users have to be ready for that work. They have to assess the resources and the skills to do that, and if they don't have them, they have to figure out how they're going to get them, acquire, buy, or hire. And then the fourth one in the differentiation, we'll come back to AI. Top vendors are using AI-powered test generation and self-healing to minimize test maintenance efforts and improve reliability. It's hard enough getting a test suite for API testing. That's why you want it to be automated. That's why you want it to be AI driven. But then you don't want to have to maintain those test suites. So AI helps minimize that. Whereas the challengers often have limited AI capabilities, and they require more manual intervention to manage test suites. So those would be 4 areas. Before I move on to key takeaways in API testing, any questions or comments there?
I know we're going to break down the AI topic a little bit further, so let's save a little bit of time for that.
All right.
Aaron, did you have anything you wanted to respond to there?
I mean, I can kind of button up a few of those technologies into a story if you'd like to hear one, Daryl. Specifically, we talk about functional testing a lot, and non-functional is very important, but it can also help suss out some of those security vulnerabilities. And we were working with a large financial institution a few years back, and they had a major outage. One of their APIs got hammered really hard, and it caused a cascading failure, which caused their whole online presence to go down for a few hours. To relate it to business terms, I think every minute they were down, they lost tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think at the end they had a reorganization of their C-suite due to this. When they finally pinpointed the problem, it was because they didn't load and performance test this particular component enough, and they had to change the way they were testing, and they needed not only process changes but tools to support it. So they took on a resiliency initiative to start to shift left load and performance testing as early as possible. It was really, you cannot release your changes or your commits until it was performance test at least a baseline amount. So that had a whole bunch of challenges in its place. What technologies could we use to support this? They leveraged our API solution to convert those into load performance tests, which can be done very quickly and easily. But they needed to be able to configure the environments to support those APIs on the back end, which is where service virtualization comes in. And they could not have done shift left performance testing with both of those lightweight tools in their wheelhouse.
Hence why I said up front, brand reputation.
Yeah, they were in the news.
They're lucky it didn't turn into an extinction level event.
Yeah.
But that's why it's not just technology. It's about the business enablement, productivity, and reputation. And so I'm not surprised with that story. And thank you for sharing. It's unfortunate.
Well, they came out the other end much stronger. They deliver a better product now. So we have to learn from our mistakes, I'll call it.
What do they say? What's the action? Experience is the best teacher.
Absolutely.
If you can survive it, you'll have wisdom. So, to get back on topic then, Jamie, I see three takeaways, and we're covering them here, and Aaron just illustrated a couple of them. Prioritize end-to-end API testing. Functional testing alone is not enough. Organizations must integrate security, performance, and compliance in a single automated workflow. So that would be one takeaway that we would leave you with. Invest in AI-driven testing to scale effectively. AI-driven testing is not just one human anymore; it's thousands, tens of thousands of humans. They are your agents. So AI-powered test creation, maintenance, and self-healing reduce manual effort significantly. They make it possible to scale testing without increasing costs. Big deal. And then finally, I think Aaron touched on this as well. Adopt shift left and shift right testing strategies. So go end to end, use AI to test and scale, and do adopt these strategies. So early defect detection through shift left, continuous monitoring of APIs in production, shift right. Those would be the three that I would call out.
All right. And as you said, it all comes back to business. So we're going to go into our next topic really quickly. We're going to talk a little bit further about AI, automation, and the future of API testing, really in the context of AI. So we talked a lot already about some of the benefits of API testing. We talked about kind of reducing those technical barriers for API test adoption, creating those test cases a lot easier for less technical team members. One aspect that I want to go a little bit further in was the test coverage side. So how does intelligent test generation with AI improve test coverage? And what challenges do you both see that teams should be aware of when they're looking at implementing AI tools? So Daryl, do you want to kick it off for us?
Sure. I would like to kind of focus on what I think what we're kind of talking about here is what I would call experience APIs. Experience APIs are APIs designed to streamline interactions between back-end services and front-end applications, i.e. the experience, ensuring that data is delivered in a way that meets users' experience needs without overloading the client or requiring direct access to back-end systems. You might call this digital transformation. doing business in the way, manner, and location that your customers wish to do business with you, hence the experience. AI-powered automation is a game changer for API testing, as you might imagine. It eliminates tedious manual scripting. It speeds up test execution, and it significantly reduces maintenance costs, and it expands the number of tests that you can do. With AI, organizations can detect issues early, increase coverage, deliver software. We're just hammering that. What it really translates to in business terms is it addresses time, effort, and efficacy. Delivers effective time to value, which is really what you're after here. You're not after the technology itself. You're after servicing the customers. It's happening because faster software releases and increased automation have led organizations to embrace this AI-powered testing. APIs are now the backbone of digital experience. And testing them effectively ensures smooth functionality and mitigates any extinction level event you may encounter.
All right. I'm glad you brought up experience APIs. That's something that we just had a white paper and a new blog recently come out on those topics, actually, how to target the experience APIs for testing. Aaron, did you want to add a little bit of your color on this, your flair when it comes down to test coverage and how AI is being leveraged today for API testing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like where to start. I think adopting not a coverage strategy and AI strategy. These are all conversations that I'm having with customers nowadays. And still, there's a huge barrier of entry on how to get into API testing. We actually had we have a case study that's it's released this morning from Woodman Life. So I'm going to drop their name here. And they are like zero to hero success story. They had mostly manual testers doing button clicks, and one team was picked out on an initiative called they had an initiative called 5 weeks to 5 days. So this set of regression tests that they were doing took about 5 weeks to complete, and they're pulling all hands on deck to do these. If anything was discovered, they had to send the results back to development, who then re-released it. Took another 5 weeks to do it. By leveraging our API testing solution, their goal was to get it to execute these tests in 1 week or 40 hours, and they were able to accelerate that to about 4.5 hours. And we still have some test cases that we need to automate. This has allowed them to release 13 releases since August, where they would have had 10 for the whole year. ROI on that is just crazy. Next steps, though, are everything you just said. How do we get coverage? How do we extend this to testing backend systems? We're able to analyze all kinds of testing from all different methodologies, and using our AI algorithms, link it to the actual code, getting that coverage that they want, but also identifying from release to release changes that have occurred. So they're only running test cases that are important, or identifying areas where they have zero coverage and need to create tests for, which also should eventually reduce risk on their end. I can go into a lot of story more, but I'll leave it back to you, Jamie.
Now, this is a great story, and you're right. That case study just came out, so we'll try to make sure that there's a link in maybe emailed to everybody after, so you can take a look, because it's a powerful case study, that one. So I do, just for time's sake, want to move on to our next topic. We've already started discussing this a little bit, API security and compliance, but I want to dig into this a bit deeper. So with API security threats on the rise, why is functional testing alone, in your opinions, not enough to ensure API safety? And what additional measures should teams take as far as implementation and integrating security testing into QA workflows? Daryl, do you want to kick this one off for us as well?
Happy to.
Perfect.
So it really comes down to kind of this. Functional testing ensures APIs work correctly, but it doesn't account for real-world security threats. API security testing must include vulnerability assessments, authentication, validation, attack simulation to catch risks before they impact users. So that's the technical definition and a reasonable technical response. The point here is security is about brand. It's about customer satisfaction. It's about survival. I like to tell folks it's not if, nor is it when, but it's how bad is it going to be. And that is a choice. You can be more effective, efficient, comprehensive, resilient, or not. And most people tend to move to let's be more, not less. But by choice, I mean there are reasons for and against it, specifically for API testing. And if you'd like, I can go into those for and against very, very quickly, because it might be important. I think that was covered in your question as well. The reasons for are, I just said it, security is no longer optional. APIs are a top attack vector. Regulatory compliance is mandatory. Proactive security reduces costly fixes. So that's one argument. There's two more I would state. Efficiency, you get gains through automation. You can do security testing at speed, real time. You can have test reusability. Functional test cases can be repurposed for security validation, reducing test effort, redundancies. And then AI-driven security analysis, you can integrate machine learning to detect risks early, as we've already talked about a little bit. The third four is business risk mitigation. Avoid downtime, avoid reputation damage, avoid customer churn, brand damage, regulatory penalties, reduce financial risk, and generate trust, which is a stronger competitive advantage. Those are all four. There are good reasons against. There are trade-offs, performance trade-offs and complexity. Security testing can slow pipelines. Some security scans add latency. False positives may disrupt workflows. Security validation tools sometimes overflag issues. The second one is resource and skill constraints. The QA teams may lack security expertise. They're functional testers. They're not security experts. So that can lead to misconfigured security tests. Security teams and dev teams may work in silos. Organizations may struggle to bridge those gaps. So if you've got that in your organization, that would be something you would have to assess. And then there's a potential for testing scope overlap. Security scans can duplicate other tools. Some organizations already run API stress security scans separately, which makes FAT security integrations redundant. And then you might have different testing goals. Functional tests ensure APIs work, while security tests identify attack vectors. Some argue these should remain distinct. So I would suggest a balanced approach. Integrate security tests best when streamlined. The best practice is selective integration, embedding essential security tests while reserving deeper penetration for dedicated security workflows. Shift left, shift right must work together. Security testing should not be an afterthought, but should also not slow down development cycles. As Einstein might say, do enough security testing, but no more. And then Parasoft's approach embodies all that.
Aaron, it looked like you had something to say there. You want to chime in?
I think we could go have a happy hour and talk about this all night, Daryl. But yeah, I think I've told stories that almost align with the majority of what you've just said. I would also, add that security can start as early as development with automatic static analysis scans in IDE, very early scans for known vulnerabilities within, maintaining regulatory compliance with things like OWASP and DISA, PCI DISA. That can happen very early in the cycle, and yeah, usually security testing is thought of like in the same lines of load performance testing. It's usually Gorilla at the end. But being able to repurpose API testing with pen testing tools using OWASP Zap is one of our strengths as well. And I'm gonna mention one more thing that I've worked with a lot in the past, and that puts service virtualization back into the spotlight. A lot of insurance companies, and I would say companies, a lot of organizations still test with production data more than we would like them to. And we could do a quick search to see how many companies in the last year has had a data breach with customer information. And a lot of these companies I've worked with, they are spending half of their testing time, if not more, obfuscating production data to perform their testing. If they adopt something like service virtualization, they can make their own data that meets their testing purposes and replace that without the risk of, mine, your medical or credit card information getting out to the public.
It's a very good point. All right. You started touching on this for our next topic already, Aaron. So I think this is a great time to transition. We're going to talk about API testing in CI/CD and DevOps. Primarily where I want to focus here is going to be on really how to optimize. What role does automation play in accelerating release cycles while mitigating risk? And how can teams, in your opinion, strike the right balance? And I have a feeling that service virtualization is going to be a part of your answer, Aaron. But Daryl, do you want to take it away for us?
Well, I'm glad you foreshadowed it because it should be part of the answer. But another area would be test impact analysis, right? Test automation needs to be smart, not just fast. And TIA ensures that you only run the tests that matter. Again, go back to Einstein, only run the tests that matter and no more. So cutting down execution time while maintaining confidence in software quality is key. So this is part of the human requirement. Aaron already touched upon it once. It's trust, but verify. Keep things as simple as possible, but no simpler. I love Einstein. Do the tests necessarily aligned, but no more. And it's the reason for this here, it prevents unnecessary test execution. So this is where you need that human element in, because AI is going to generate every test it can think of. You don't necessarily need to run them all. Reduce the test suite execution time while still catching critical defects. So a best practice is test everything in every release, being impractical. And slowing down DevOps workflows, you want to just test those that are critical to the workflow. So I would suggest TIA is a best practice.
I actually, absolutely agree. Just like manual testing in the past was getting out of hand, and organizations couldn't keep up with that. Early adopters of automation have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of scripts that they've created to run against their APIs and applications. And honestly, you said it should use human interaction to streamline this with the help of AI when possible. We're able, you've already touched on it, we're able to identify changes in code and then link it to test cases. At that point, not only are you running an efficient test bed as part of your CI/CD pipeline, but you can also identify test cases that, again, aren't there, but maybe you haven't run in 2 years. Maybe it's time to review those, prune them, and have a golden set of test cases for your APIs, not just having automated tests to have automated tests. And then there's the whole process when something goes wrong. How do you deliver information to the stakeholders? and we're able to analyze that and deliver quality tasks to developers and testers alike.
Yeah, do the ones you need to do, because AI is just going to say, "Hey, look at this one. I found this one. Do this one. Hey, what about this one? What about?" You got to put some, align it to the business.
All right. I think for sake of time, we're going to go back to the slides and start our wrap up. So give me just a minute. Okay. So we have talked a lot today about where the market is going, what features and capabilities an API testing solution should have in order to meet the evolving needs of today's software. We talked about how Parasoft measures up, the platform being selected as a leader and fast mover in API test automation, how we're driving innovation in the space today. So I did want to just do a quick intro to the platform. Parasoft offers the continuous quality testing platform. It's an open, intelligent, and outcome-driven software testing platform that integrates software testing from code scanning, unit testing, code coverage, functional testing, API testing, UI, manual testing, really across the entirety of the SDLC. And it's all about enforcing software quality, reliability, safety, security, even in strictly regulated markets. Data passes between our different solutions and tools to improve the efficiency of testing, accelerate test creation, as well as repurpose existing test cases for expanded testing, load performance, and security. As Daryl's mentioned quite a few times here, that platform play of really needing to have all these different types, not just API functional, but you need to have load performance, security testing, compliance testing, all integrated together in the one platform. And then AI is used across the entire platform to augment every aspect of testing. So we include AI in test creation, maintenance, execution with test impact analysis. We support test impact analysis for Java and .NET applications. Disregarding what framework you're using, we can leverage it at the unit testing level, the API microservices for end-to-end testing as well. And then we really use AI here as an amplifier. It's a multiplier to the existing activities that the tester is already doing to increase their efficiency. And across the platform, we're also offering both native AI that Parasoft has spent years developing in-house, as well as offering optional LLM integrations for generative AI, as we discussed earlier. So if you do want to know more about Parasoft and our solutions, I highly recommend you reach on out to us to request a technical demonstration. You can follow that URL and QR code right there to request your demo. I also highly recommend, if you haven't yet, download the recent GigaOm report. It is best to give yourself the opportunity to read about the different vendors that they have done their analysis on, understand what is going to be the best fit for your particular team's testing needs, the challenges that you're encountering. And this report is really going to be instrumental to helping you get a lot of that early research, that work done early, so that you can, make the right informed decisions when you're thinking about not only what your current testing needs are, but where you want to go in the next 2 years to 5 years, onward. So a tool that's really going to keep supporting your evolving needs as this industry, which is just an exciting one today, but always evolving, always keeping us on our toes. You do need software that's going to, innovate with you, right? So download the report, learn a little bit more. And then I do want to, again, thank our panelists that we have before we dive into Q&A. So Daryl, thank you so much for your time today. Fantastic discussion. We really appreciate it. Aaron, you as well. All your insights, your stories with our customers, really, really insightful. Do you guys have any last things you want to say before we wrap up and get to our Q&A?
I don't think we said it enough. So here's 3 insights. Use AI-driven API testing for scale, self-healing, test impact analysis, predictive defect detection. Why not? We haven't mentioned security enough. So security and compliance. Shift left security testing and API compliance automation are becoming mandatory, right? And then finally, from an enterprise adoption and scalability standpoint, service virtualization, CI/CD native testing, continuous API monitoring. This is the business. This is how your customers get to you. This is how you deliver services to them. Take care of it.
And I don't think I could have said it better than you, Daryl. So I'm going to let your words of wisdom be the final thing and say it has been a pleasure talking to both of you.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you again. And let's start looking into our Q&A.